welcome to the Upshot, Multi-World Disc Golf's podcast about the latest in the disc golf world. I'm the editor, Charlie Eisenhood. Joining me is Josh Mansfield on this Thursday, May 30th. Sorry we're only with you one time this week. It's been a very busy week. College national championships for Ultimate Frisbee this past weekend in Madison, and then in transit, and it's just been a crazy time. So since we had no tournament this past weekend, we took Tuesday off. We hope you understand. Josh, what's happening? How are you doing?
I think things are good. Busy.
Well, I basically haven't talked to you in
We usually are like at least checking in and like talking about other sports at least a little bit. And you were busy with college nationals.
I've been locked in.
Charlie, you know what? Let's celebrate the ending of the career of perhaps one of the greatest sports icons in all of sports. Angel Hernandez hung up the cleats this week.
Yep.
and is retired.
The GOAT.
It was great. The point, I was talking with a guy about it, and he's like, is Angel really that bad? And I said, name one other MLB umpire. This is a kind of a little bit more of a casual fan. He said, please name one other MLB umpire for me. And he goes, all right, point taken.
No, he really is that bad. And what was insane is that they would give him playoff games. I have no idea what they were doing.
I know.
In that land. I mean, that's wild. Hey, check this out. Sorry, podcast listeners. This is a YouTube special right now.
Oh, your T-sign king, or your sign. Yeah.
From W.R. Jackson. It's going to go up on this wall nicely behind me when I ever get around to actually... I have all these discs. I have this. The sign is broken. I have to get it fixed. It's some shady,
Sure,
overseas manufacturing. Like, there's like live electrical... Like, I could just like it. I have to somehow figure out how to keep Lewis from electrocuting himself on this ridiculous power supply. But anyway, I got my sign.
Very nice.
And
Very nice.
Shout out to the PDGA. Let's see what else is going on. Did you get a chance to watch little Frisbee Nationals?
I did. I watched some highlights.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I think Ulti-World does such a good job. I really enjoy your guys' broadcast.
Oh, thank you, Josh.
I think it's quite nice, and that's something that I definitely appreciate. How were college nationals for you?
Whew, man, it was like relentless thunderstorms and rain, and so like the whole first day basically got washed out, and so it completely exploded the schedule, and so like a lot of the things we were planning to do we couldn't do because they had to condense the schedule down and stuff. But hey, we got through it. And I think this, from a competition perspective, it's never been better. I mean, this was probably the best college nationals of my time going since 2013. Just amazing games, semifinals, incredible like universe points. Even if you just watch the highlights, I recommend checking some of it out.
It was good. You kind of set me up for failure with Carlton.
Sorry, dude.
Wow, that.
Oh. Yeah, not great.
Not good at all. Charlie, we had a question in the Discord actually. I think was timed because of college nationals. Andrew asks, since I've started watching the Shred, when I watch college or club nationals, do I enjoy the games more or less than the UFA, and why? Sure. I thought that was a good question. So as For listeners, in case you're not up to speed, I didn't watch any Ultimate prior to being on this podcast. And once I started on the podcast, Charlie would have these weeks where he kind of disappears, and I thought, let's see what's it like on the other side. And so I've watched Ultimate kind of very casually for some of the big tournaments for the past couple of years. And only this year did I really start watching, because the Shred made it to the championships last weekend for the what was at the time the AUDL, and that's when I was like, oh, it's Utah, I'll watch it. Let's see what's going on.
Sure.
I now have a subscription to the UFA TV and watch the Salt Lake Shred games, and as much as I think that the broadcast is not super well produced for the UFA, I much prefer the format over college and club. I still, despite watching more Ultimate, find college and club very difficult to follow. soft cap, universe points, when those come into play, the standing around talking with an observer, trying to litigate calls, and then like coming to conclusions and resolutions that I just really didn't make any sense to me. It's all like very, you got to be in the know to know, and I'm not in the know. And the UFA has created a product that feels very much more geared to the casual spectator. It runs in 4 quarters. It has a halftime. You just score points, and there are referees who make calls. And then the other thing that's kind of nice is like they've also created a format where I think that there are more. And Charlie, you talked about this prior to me kind of getting into the UFA. Like there's more hucks. The field is kind of expanded.
Yep.
It's a little bit more of like an aggressive, offensive oriented sport. And so as a viewer, I prefer to watch the UFA.
I completely understand. The fact is the club and college game needs to adapt some, not all, but some of these more spectator friendly changes because it's honestly ridiculous sometimes. Like, why do we have to wait? Imagine if every time there was a rules dispute in disc golf, it didn't get resolved for 2 minutes. Every time. Like, people standing around, they're arguing with each other, then they go to somebody who then has to go like have a conference with the other person, and then they come back and they say, yes, it was a foot fault. That's how it works in Ultimate.
It is. Even
though the observer already knows what they're going to decide.
Yes.
In most cases. But we have to let the players blah, 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 blah. And the thing is, I don't even have a problem with that, right? If you want to have it be this way without referees, I'm cool with that. But there needs to be actual enforced time limits. You get 20 seconds.
Yeah.
You can't figure it out? Ruling. It's done. Instant referral. Let's play. Let's not talk. Let's play. And, it's interesting because it like forces the production side to like get microphones in there because otherwise it's unwatchable.
Yeah. Yep.
Like with the conversation, it's at least somewhat interesting from like rules and like who's cheating or not cheating perspective. But man, there's a lot of changes that could come to the more amateur side of the game, which, by the way, the competition level is higher.
It is.
Like the quality of play is higher than it is in the UFA. Anyway, we're like, what are we, 10 minutes in and we haven't talked about disc golf yet, so enough. But it's a great college nationals, particularly. I think anybody can get into it.
Yes.
If you really want it. If you're like, hey, I'm going to root for my school, my squad.
Right.
It's a great time.
Yes.
The Upshot is presented by Pound Disc Golf, makers of the best bags in the sport. First thing to know, head on out to the Portland Open this weekend. Pound's going to be there Saturday and Sunday, June 1st and 2nd, with some goodies to vend, including a few omakase packs, as well as the debut of a handful of packs from a very special collaboration. So if you're in the Portland area, head on out on the weekend, watch some great disc golf, and check out what's going on over at the Pound Disc Golf vending zone. Also noting, the custom toolbox builder is coming to a close. They announced that earlier this week. People must place orders for custom toolboxes before June 30th, when the custom toolbox builder will be discontinued. So get yourself a toolbox. It's a great little bag. You can use it as a practice bag. For a long time, it was my actual disc golf bag. Great size, fits in your trunk, super nice. You can get it exactly customized to your specs, but you only have another month to do that. So head over to pounddiscgolf.com, check out all the options, the custom toolbox builder, and come out and see them this weekend at the Portland Open. All right, Portland Open this weekend. We're going to keep it pretty tight today because this show's coming out today. We want you to be able to listen to this before the tournament coverage gets started in an hour or two. So we have a couple of other notes before we get to our Portland Open preview and picks. First of all, Cascade Challenge, one of the Q-Series events, took place this past weekend. And how about the young man Nicholas Antila throwing a 1097 rated opening round and absolutely slaying everybody this weekend? Domination, Josh.
Yeah, no kidding. Second place, Chandler Kramer. Nicholas Antila shot 13 strokes better than him in the first round. It was not. And now, like, I'm picking on Chandler because he's in second. You know, Ezra Robinson, for example, was only 4 strokes behind Nicholas on that round. There were other players that were closer. Chandler Kramer had a particularly poor round 1, but he came in second, 10 strokes behind. Nicholas cleaned house. Deanne Carey wins it over an FPO. It was a lighter field on FPO than it was on the MPO side. But good for Deanne Carey. I mean, it's always fun to see her pop up.
Yeah, I mean, it had to beat a couple solid players.
Yeah.
I mean, Cat Merch was in the field. Okay, speaking of solid players, I have a gripe.
I'm ready for your gripe.
Why am I watching a Q-Series event that's filled with elite touring pros? What's that? Okay, listen. If you wanted to be an A tier and be an off-weekend A tier and get a bunch of touring pros and have live coverage, or not even live, but
Post-produced.
Terry Miller's there doing it all. I think that's totally fine. I think that's great. LVC, we have these kind of high-profile A tiers. If you want to be a Q-Series event, there should be ratings caps, and if you're above a certain rating, you can't play unless you get an exception from the Pro Tour because you're not actually on tour. Otherwise, what is the point? I don't understand. Like, to me, I don't understand it. You call it a Q-Series event, and then I have top-level professionals playing. It's ridiculous. It's not a Q-Series. It's just like a random name being put on it, and then like whoever finishes in 17th place gets some Q-Series points or something. To me, it completely removes any ability to build a narrative around people coming up on tour and trying to earn a qualifying spot. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like, pick it. You want to be an A tier, be an A tier. You want to be a Q-Series, be a Q-Series. Or have different divisions. Sure.
The thing that I find weird, so I went over and pulled up the DGPT note on the Q-Series. They have a whole thing. I'm curious. I don't think. So let's see. Let's look at their displacement. So they won't earn additional Q-Series. Okay, so yeah, they're just dropping it clear down to whoever. You know what the other problem is here, Charlie, is I look at this and I'm like, there is a difference. I think there's a real difference between players, like a player having to just show up and know that they're not going to win it, but think to themselves, if I can just get in the top 10 or the top 20, I'm going to earn some Q-Series points, right? As opposed to, you have two guys who are vying for additional points because they both are planning on going to the finale. One is in second place and trails by 1 stroke going into the final round. There's a level, and they're playing on the same card. They have to be together. That's the thing that these players are trying to earn a tour card to compete at the highest level. And part of that needs to be understanding that there is a larger point structure and having to play accordingly because you need those points and need to make it to the finale and how those decisions impact it. And that would be very difficult to track on PDGA Live when you're in the middle of a round. I agree. I would much prefer, or for example, even if you don't do different divisions per se, but you card all the guys who have tour cards already, they're just they're the first tee. They tee off first every time. Or at the end, right? And almost run it like it's a separate division, but let them stay pooled together. And
sure.
And so your lead card is made up of the top 4 guys who don't have a tour card. That's how it should have been grouped and played. But it's just another case. I mean, that's what happened to silver events.
It's classic weirdness.
Yeah.
Maybe nobody cares. Right? Maybe I'm on an island here because people are like, whatever, who cares about random players who are going to try to get on via the Q-Series? But to me, that's the point.
That is the point. Yes.
And this just feels like an A tier that has this extra thing attached to it, but there's a zero narrative associated with it then. Whatever. I don't know. Okay. Well, I think we mentioned this last week. Kristin Tattar gets hurt, bruises a rib. She's out. She's not coming over to the U.S. for this stretch. She was going to be playing at Portland. It's not happening. But she did announce, Josh, that she's got a new brand agency managing her brand image and marketing. Kristin continues to take these steps. I mean, she's like reached the Macbeth level of high profile.
Yes.
Like, I think Macbeth is still probably more famous globally, but like in Europe, is Kristin the biggest disc golf star right now?
Oh,
has to be. Paul's star is fading a little bit, let's be honest, at least from a competition perspective. I just think it's, I don't necessarily think her new logo is like something that's totally going to blow me away, but like they're clearly like planning legitimate, real merch that's like what you might see from a tennis professional.
Yes.
To me, it's just like very impressive to see her continue to take these steps. And man, is she going to get the bag from her disc manufacturer sponsor at the end of 2025. It's going to be unbelievable. Latitude better start filling the coffers.
They don't worry. House of Discs is already allocated. They're looking for more private venture capitalists just to fund Kristin's contract.
we're doing our C-Series round, and it's just to pay Kristin.
The one thing about the logo it looks like the Formula One logo with the F. Hers is an F. It's the top of the K. But I saw that and I'm just like, oh, Formula One. Like, that's what's going on here. Honestly, though, I don't think it's a horrible piggyback in terms of like that, just like that style, because Formula One very popular over in Europe. So,
yeah, I mean,
popular. But
got the bird, got the flower. I don't know. It's a KT logo with a lot more style than the typical disc golf logo.
Agreed.
That's for sure.
Agreed. Yeah.
All right, Portland Open time. Let's dig in.
Okay.
Glendoveer East, Glendoveer West. We got it's an Elite Plus. So it's worth 1.5x the points, 4 rounds. There's a cut. Tournament starts today, so make sure you set your calendar. It's not a 3-rounder. And we're up in Oregon, and it looks like the weather's going to be beautiful. Josh, I think if I recall correctly, this is your favorite converted ball golf course layout on tour.
Definitely.
Accurate?
Yes, very accurate.
I think it probably is most people's, because I don't even really know where else you go.
Pros like
what
Preserve.
You would consider. Yeah,
I do not.
All right.
I will also say, I think GMC might beat it out, but this is in the running for the best looking course on tour.
Best looking.
Yes. Aesthetics. The aesthetics
it's nice.
Are spectacular at this course.
Yeah, you're right.
The tall trees, very mature trees. The course, like it's very clearly a golf course. It's very well maintained. This course looks phenomenal, and I love watching it. My one gripe. So they in order to make this an Elite Plus event, you have to have 4 rounds. They split it into 2 courses. You used to have just a single Glendoveer layout. You now have Glendoveer East, Glendoveer West. My only complaint with the Glendoveer East and West is that some of the holes start to blend together. I think all of the shots are pretty unique and challenging, but just the way that they're kind of pictured and presented on the broadcast, they start to kind of melt together a little bit. Whereas I think the original just 18-hole Glendoveer layout, almost it was reaching the point where every one of those holes felt pretty iconic to me and very easily recognizable. And when they split it into 2, I lose some of that. Like, I can still run through, but then I have to ask myself, like, oh, is that on the old Glendoveer layout? But it is 36 holes of absolutely gorgeous and amazing golf. So I'm excited for this weekend.
Last year, Adam Hammes beat Aaron Gossage in a playoff. You'll remember it. Hammes jams the huge putt from circle 2
after going OB on the approach.
After going OB,
yes,
what an amazing moment.
Yes.
That was one of the top moments of the year, I think. Some other top finishes: Corey Ellis was up near the top, Isaac Robinson in fourth, James Proctor in fifth. And over on the FPO side, Kristin won it. She beat out Sai Ananda by 4 strokes, who finished in second. Owen Scoggins playing well. And you know who she was tied with? Who's playing this weekend?
Who's that?
Juliana Korver.
Let's go.
Podium finish last year at Portland. Can she do it again? No Kristin in the field. We haven't really seen a lot of the heavy hitters like Holland play super good here. So I think it feels very wide open to me with a lot of those players up near the top. Now, I'm not saying JK is going to win it, but like we could see her have a nice weekend.
Yeah, it's one that I think distance it is a longer course, and there are absolutely going to be holes with some distance on them. But it also is one that I think does a really nice job of forcing landing zones that don't always require the most distance. It really just requires you hitting shots. And that's one of the things that is so impressive to me about this course is despite the fact that it gives the impression and like the views of a golf course, the lines that it requires you to throw in a lot of the holes are actually a lot closer to find. And if you swing it out wide and kind of make your own, you are going to be well out of position for the next one. It's a very, very well designed course. While we're on the subject of Juliana Korver, though, Charlie, I got an interesting fact and then our trivia of the week for you.
Okay.
Juliana Korver is the only 4-digit PDGA player registered at this event. I did not go look at other events. It would not surprise me if that is the case every time Juliana Korver plays. There are not many 4-digit PDGA number players out in the field these days.
Still active.
Yeah, on the Pro Tour. So very exciting and just a tribute to a legend of the game. Can you guess who the next lowest PDGA number is on the FPO side? This surprised me.
Scoggins.
It is not Scoggins. Scoggins is actually 7th, 8th. You have a couple.
Kona.
It is Kona.
Let's go.
Let's go.
She probably got one when she was a kid.
She probably did. I mean, you see people like Paige Pierce, Owen Scoggins, Jessica Weiss, Lisa Fakis, like players who've been playing for long time, right? And like those are the ones that I definitely thought of. But Kona Montgomery, who probably got, like you said, her number on her birthday. Over on the MPO side, this probably is more of a question of registration than it is just like you'll know who it is if you can figure out if he's registered. Lowest MPO rated PDJ number?
Stokely?
Nope, I don't think he's registered.
I know Doss is not playing this weekend.
We thought he was.
Doss is selling Bevel beer this weekend.
Yes.
He's playing in the Beaver State Fling next weekend, though. Who else would be up there? Simon's not playing. He has a pretty low number.
He does, but no, what is it?
Are there other old heads playing?
There are a couple. Older.
I don't know. I'll say Matty O.
Matty O's not playing this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. Give it to me.
Nico LaCastro.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I mean, you've got Nico, Double G, James Conrad, Nate Sexton, like Chandler Fry, Paul Uleberry, Paul Macbeth. It's not quite old heads, but the vets. Yeah.
The vets. Yeah. Yes.
So, yeah, Nico's the lowest.
Course notes. Not a lot changed. They tweaked some holes that were playing either too hard or too easy. Mm-hmm. So they have shortened up the courses just a little bit, particularly on West. Jeff Spring talked at the press conference about moving the basket back on that big downhill shot, moved it up about 80 feet to make it a little bit more attackable. And, you know, I think that's pretty reasonable. These courses didn't need a major overhaul. And these are the kinds of changes I would start to expect at some of these more regular tour courses where they're not really changing the layout. They're just changing the difficulty a little bit here and there in order to stay tuned up for the current game and to get good score separation. And it's interesting, like a couple of those changes can actually make the course play a lot better, even though it's only a 40-foot change as opposed to like a brand new hole.
Right. The other thing, so, you know, if you go over and look at our preview for Portland Open, you do have distances and can note like the overall distances. For example, on Glendoveer East, we are going from an 11,245 foot course to an 11,130 foot. It's only a net change of 115 feet. That doesn't
Right.
show all the tweaks that happen in the middle, though. You add
Right.
15 feet here, you take 15 feet there. All those holes get tuned up a little bit better. And so while the big picture doesn't look like there's quite as much of adjustment, I'm excited to see how that scoring separation changes comparing it to last year. Pars are all the same except Glendoveer East for MPO. The par is one lower this year as opposed to last. So it is a par 65 instead of par 66.
Other things to note. A bunch of players not playing this weekend, just to note them for your picks. Simon, who was going to be playing here, decided not to. I think he's doing some commentary stuff, like the DGN bonus stream type deal on his YouTube channel. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Simon Cast.
Simon Cast.
Yes.
We'll see how that goes. I'll check it out.
I'm willing to go take a look.
Chris Dickerson's not playing. You mentioned Matty O's not playing. Of course, Kristin not playing, along with most of the other European top players who are staying over there until the European Open. But hey, Sayananda is there. If you're looking for somebody that you want to take, played well here last year. A couple of Europeans, Annika Sten, Luca Lorenzen, who have been over in the U.S. So
Nicholas Antela, who stayed.
Nicholas
as well,
Antela, who's
played
coming
last
off
weekend. Yeah,
fantastic performance last weekend. A couple players I'm pretty interested in, and it's like it's kind of the injury comeback stories for me. How's Eagle going to do this weekend? He's played really well here before. Are we going to see him continuing to take strides forward?
Mm-hmm.
And then same thing with Paige Pierce, who really started to look like she was figuring it out at OTB. And so that's kind of one of the big things that I'm going to be watching, along with, do we see a bounce back from Barella? Can we see maybe Ella Hansen go back to back? Can Vinny stay hot?
Yeah.
A lot of interesting questions because we had this off week. By the way, last off week until Worlds. Now, to be fair, the on weeks are going to vary between the U.S. and Europe, so
Sure.
it may feel a little bit more like there's some time off here and there. But there are non-stop Elite Series events every weekend through Worlds at the end of August.
Buckle
Get ready
up.
for some rapid reacts. It's great time to get yourself an Ulti-World Disc Golf subscription.
Yes, it is.
Because some of those European tournaments we're not going to spend lots of time on in the show, but we will be doing rapid reacts after every Elite Series event on Sundays in our Discord.
Yeah. Well, we should probably do some picks, Charlie. And boy, oh boy, does it feel wide open this week.
I feel like this is one of the hardest weeks to make picks of the whole season.
Let me add one more note from our preview that's up on ultiworlddiscgolf.com. The big three of Heimberg, Burr, and Barella have never had a podium finish at this event.
It's pretty crazy.
So, yeah, not all.
What's the over under on number of those players on the podium this weekend? I will give it to you. I'll give it to you 1.5.
Under.
0.5.
I take the over. I
I
think there's one of them.
I think I give you 0.5
Yeah, I take the over
as
then.
the official number.
Yeah, I think your odds of giving me the 1.5 at basically any tournament with picking three players where you need two of them on the podium. That's a tough break. I unfortunately think that one is always going to be my answer if you gave me any group of three competitive players to make the podium.
So, let's get to our picks. Josh, I'll let you go first this week.
All right. I'm going to head over in FPO. I really thought about it. I really, really thought about picking Ella Hansen to win and go back-to-back. But if I pick Ella Hansen to win, she's not going to make the cut. And so instead, I put her on third place because I care more about Ella having a good weekend than I do putting her at the chance at first. Ella Hansen gets third place. There's no reason she shouldn't play well here. She did play horrendously last year. I remember because I'm pretty sure I picked her. But there's no reason, and I'm hoping that she keeps the hot hand going. I just have too many question marks around Holland Handley right now. She almost she not only was not in contention for the win, but she almost completely fell out of total podium relevancy at OTB with how bad her final round was. And that's just really given me some question marks that she's got to solve something. Missy Gannon gets the 2 nod. She was tied with the kind of third place grouping there. you really last year on the FPO side, you had Kristin, Tattar, and Sayananda. They were the only ones that break 20. You then had the Owen Scoggins, Juliana Korver tie in third, and then Paige and Missy at 13 under, tied at fifth. Missy, it's kind of going to be like a bounce back. I really think Missy, I would like Missy to be contending for the win here, and think she has the capability and the opportunity to do it this weekend. But I'm doing it again. Give me Owen Scoggins. Give me the dog.
Oh my God.
She did well at OTB last year. I'm hoping. I want her to win one. I want her to get it. Giving her to Portland. Give me Owen.
It's not crazy.
It's not crazy. The problem is I don't think that her ceiling is as high as what some of these other players could be. Which
I mean, well, sure. I think there's no doubt that like this is not necessarily the course where you would imagine, but
she's proven us wrong.
Ella and Holland didn't play well here last year,
right?
So then you're like, okay, well, who's going to beat her? I mean, like, if you want to say Sayananda, okay, power to you, but I think I'd take Owen over Sai this weekend. So then you're kind of like looking around Paige, and you're saying, well, why not Owen?
Yep, that's kind of what I'm left with.
Owen is second on my podium.
Okay.
In third, I have Val Mondahano, who played awesome here. I will not be shocked if she wins. She did not play here in 23, but she won it in 22 and shredded.
Speaking of a why not player, man.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? So I was kind of like hesitant to put her in third. I thought about picking her to win, but Josh, I'm calling the shot.
Okay. You called your shot last week.
I'm calling the shot. I've been calling my shots and they've been hitting.
Okay.
From way downtown, Paige Pierce to take it down.
Charlie,
she's back.
You gotta quit making.
She's back.
I can't come out and be like, well, now I hope Paige doesn't win. Like, of course I want Paige to win. That's an excellent storyline. Make for a great podcast on Tuesday.
Why not?
Why not?
Why
she
not
pretty
Paige?
Good at OTB.
She played good here last year. Mm-hmm. She really picked it up at OTB. You started to see the full game. Her putting has been on fire. The approaches started looking better. The drive started looking cleaner. She looks like she's feeling good. She's trusting her leg more. She's throwing further. And you don't need mega distance to be competitive out here. You just don't. Mm-hmm. That's why Owen Scoggins is third at this tournament last year. So while I know it's a stretch, it's just a matter of time. And this is the perfect set of conditions for her to win. The big Europeans aren't here.
Yep.
This has not been the course for Holland and Ella.
Yep.
And then you're looking around and you're going, who's going to win? And why not Paige? I'm calling my shot.
Okay.
On the MPO side, I'm not going quite as crazy. My podium picks are a little spicy, perhaps. Okay. I am saying third place, James Proctor.
Okay.
The wedding is behind him.
Yep.
We're in the Pacific Northwest.
Absolutely.
He's played great here in the past. I think this is the time we're going to see his first podium of the season.
James Proctor. I remember, like 3-4 years ago, James Proctor was not on tour full time, and literally every time the tour came around to the West Coast, you're like, all right, James Proctor, what do I do with this guy? Like, he could.
Is he going to be on the podium
every time? So I love the pick.
I think he's going to be back to focusing on disc golf. This is the perfect spot for him to pop up onto the podium. In my 2 spot, I've got the Goose, Aaron Gossage, to get right after kind of a slow start to the season. He's going to feel super confident out here. And I cannot pick the guy to win. I simply cannot do it. The putter is just not trustworthy enough. But I'm going to put him on my podium. In my 1 spot, I've got Gannon Burr. Gannon had a horrible opening round here last year and still finished high. I think 5th. Is that right? No, 9th. But I mean, he shot a 999 rated 64 when the top rounds of the day were 55s.
Yeah, not
so he
great.
loses 9 strokes. Okay, let's say he shot a 55. Okay, he wins the tournament. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm going to let that one bad round not cloud my judgment. He played great the other 3 rounds. he's got an awesome chance to win. He's also obviously just playing at a super high level so far this season. I don't think he's going to lay the egg this year. I see him coming in and taking it down and hitting the under on the 0.5 of Barbarella Heimberg.
Okay, I like it. I've got one pick that's a little spicy, and it shouldn't be spicy, but taking Eisen Robinson in the three spot.
Ooh.
The only reason that's spicy is because he's just not played well this year. But if there's any tournament for him to start getting right, it's definitely this one. He was third place here 2 years ago. He was fourth place here last year. It's a course that allows him to kind of shape lines, but doesn't have the same punishing factor for him to kind of derail like some woods courses are. And so I'm hoping that this is one where he's able to kind of right the ship and really put together a solid performance, putting him in the 3 spot. In my 2 spot, didn't play well here last year, but Gavin Rathbun is a guy who you just cannot count out right now to be at the top week in and week out. He is playing the best disc golf of his career. And, we talked about this. If he had not been injured, there's no reason he wouldn't be in the Young Guns conversation that we have every month or so, talking about where they're at, their potential, and their impact on the game. He deserves to be in that category and deserves to be on the podium regularly. Winner, though, Calvin Heimberg, to go 3 in a row.
Josh is so regretful of not picking him last week that he's going to go back to the well.
We're going back to the well.
At the wrong time. He's chasing the wins.
Look, we'll see, but I think that would be a level. If Calvin gets a win here, that already, listen, I know about his consistency of last season, but for him to string together 3 wins, that brings the kind of high power explosiveness that you want to see from a player like Calvin in order to really start being considered for like majors and to kind of get like excise those demons that I guess have kind of held him back and been one that have haunted his otherwise really phenomenal success. I think it's a great storyline. We've got Calvin in the 1.
All right. Well, there's our picks in the books for the weekend, all over the place. We share the only player that's on both of our podiums is Owen Scoggins.
And that's just because we don't disrespect the dog on this podcast.
We know to never doubt the dog. This is a simple story.
That's right.
All right. Well, enjoy the Portland Open, everybody. We'll be back with you on Tuesday. And of course, if you're a Ulti-World Disc Golf subscriber, we will talk to you on Sunday night as we break down everything we saw at Portland. 4-round tournament cut after 3, so got to get your good rounds in early. And appreciate you tuning in all the time. Hoping to have some more interviews next week. We were really trying to get Ella Hansen, but schedules didn't line up this week. Hopefully we can talk to her sometime next week. Maybe she'll go back to back, Josh. It's definitely not out of the question.
That'd make for a great interview.
So stay with us here on the Upshot. We will talk to you on Tuesday. It will be June. Happy unofficial summer, everybody. I hope everybody had a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.